Hey everyone, welcome to Feed Your Brand Live. I'm Tracy Hazard and I'm here with my good friend and wonderful family chiropractor, Dr. Elizabeth Hoefer. Hey Liz, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
You all happy International Women's Day.
It's a great day.
That's right. So I love your podcast name, Is Your Head On Straight?
Yeah.
And I have to tell you that you may not realize it, but I show your cover art all the time when I give stage presentations.
That's awesome.
Because your cover art is one of my favorites that we've ever done because it shows your personality in it and your sense of humor. And it is you, even though I don't actually recommend people put their face on their cover of their cover art unless they're truly famous, right?
Right.
But it's okay in your case because it's like a caricature cartoon version of you with your head kind of tilted and the words "Is your head on straight" is kind of crooked. So you guys all have to go check out her cover art now.
Yes.
But it's one of my favorites because it has a personality and it really comes across and it makes people stop, read the description and then go, I got to listen to this. So it's an attractor and that's all about you. So you are a special kind of chiropractor. You are a Blair-specific chiropractor, which is actually the kind I prefer because it's not all snap, crackle, pop. There's a little bit of that, which I appreciate because my backbone hurts. But you have a lot of muscle work to do. You have all these different practices that you pull together into one in the way that you run your chiropractic business. And I absolutely love it. And it's safe for kids. That's what I really love. And so I can put kids in and make sure they're well adjusted.
Amen. That's exactly right.
Yeah. So our theme today is balance for better and life in harmony. I'm doing both. And I think that, there is a place for balance in what you do in chiropractic. Tell us a little bit about that.
Wow. Balance is huge. In fact, I had a lady come in today that I haven't seen, I think it was 9 months. And recently she said, I just feel like I'm off balance and I feel like I needed to come see you. And so back to the Blair-specific work, the neat thing about the work that I do is like the longer you hold your adjustment, the better you do. So you don't have to come see me 3 times a week. And she had been feeling so great that the loss of her balance is what tipped her off on to come in. And now obviously I recommend that people get wellness visits, but symptoms are what drive people, right? Like if it doesn't hurt, don't fix it, right? But people get symptoms and then they like, oh my gosh, I got to go see Dr. Hoefer. So her balance is what brought her back in. And sure enough, she was out of alignment. I adjusted her neck very specifically based on her anatomy. And she left the office feeling fantastic. And it took, 25 minutes to get her adjusted and have her rest and figure that out.
Yeah. Well, so my daughters have been coming to you since they were infants, since they were little. And and that I feel is such a gift that you can have someone take a look at it. So Vanessa specifically had a traumatic birth and she's my youngest. She's now almost 5 and she had to be pulled out by her shoulder. And I was always so afraid that like this was going to be the one thing in her life. Like she wouldn't be able to play softball or, something was going to go on in the future of her life that her shoulder was going to be messed up. And they were like at the hospital, they're like, it's fine. But I could tell when I was feeding her that like her shoulder wasn't in the right place. Like it didn't right. And so I couldn't wait to get her in to see you. And that's something that you've like watched over time. And now I don't notice a single difference. I think she's ambidextrous the way that she moves her arms. Right. And so I'm so thrilled that we were able to like make sure that didn't become a nagging problem in her life.
And it's so important that as a mom, you knew that it was safe and effective to bring your brand new baby to a chiropractor. There's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of fear surrounding that because people think crack, twist, pop your neck. And obviously not all chiropractors do that. And especially in infants, even the people that do that other type of chiropractic, they don't do that to babies.
No, and you give them a hug. You give them a hug. Like, I love it.
It's like the gentlest little thing. And I specifically remember when Vanessa came in, she wasn't even 2 months old. And I could tell that she was favoring, kind of guarding her little shoulder. And she didn't have the ability to communicate my shoulder hurts.
No.
She just winced and cried and didn't function. And so obviously being able to read that stuff, I was able to give her a very gentle correction to her neck, and her arm then became functional? Like the next day you noticed a
I
difference?
did. I was like feeding her and I was like, wow, she's calm. She's comfortable. You could tell because
Hmm.
she preferred one side. And that was like a big deal for me because I was like,
Yeah.
I'm an older mom. It doesn't always flow in the way that she wanted it to. So,
Absolutely. Every kid is different. I've had 3 daughters myself, and every baby has been so different. And so to be able to give moms the ability to know that, like, bringing their baby to a chiropractor, they don't have to have it all figured out, even if it's their 10th kid.
yeah.
We're trained to be able to detect, different things and ask questions to point us in the right direction to determine what function is being irritated and if there's an issue with the neurology. And so that's what we're masters of. We're masters of being able to find and detect that and fix it.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about how because you started your podcast, which is a way for you to communicate all of these wonderful things that both you believe in, that
Yeah.
you are a deep woman of faith, and I value that as well, and that
Yeah.
you get that across. But you are in such service of your community at all times, and part of that is information, and really
Yeah.
making sure that you can share that. And the podcast, I think, has given you the ability to do that because you can't talk to everyone every day, even though you
Right.
wish you could, right? You're juggling family, work, building a practice, like the whole thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, that's a lot. So how has that helped you?
You know what? It's actually given me so much more confidence to be able to share my voice, because one-on-one, I mean, I'm golden. I can communicate to my patients and like let people feel my heart, but my desire is to have a bigger audience, and my desire is to have this information shared. And the truth is, I am very busy, not too busy for new patients, but very busy taking care of people. I can't schedule myself out at a lunch and learn or in a weekend seminar every weekend, because I have a family and I have, other responsibilities. So the podcast has been something that has grown me, stretched me, and given me the ability to communicate to people who listen in Germany, who listen in Denmark. I get emails from Asia asking questions about Blair Chiropractic. And another thing that it's given is it's a resource for my students who listen and then are feeling empowered to be able to do stuff like this for themselves. And it's an education process for them as well. And I'm able to train other doctors on how to do this work so that there are more Blair chiropractors in the world. So on every level, it's been a rewarding experience, from me being able to reach the general public, from me being able to talk to my colleagues, and from me being able to further train and educate the students that I mentor. It's been super rewarding.
So you've built it in as a part of your business, your business practices, the way that you work, and it's helped to feed all those areas that you want to keep feeding on a weekly or daily basis. And I love that,
Yeah.
Liz, because you know what, that is really, is like, podcast isn't one size fits all. Like it's not a formula. You do this, you become a celebrity. Like that is like a very small percentage of podcasts.
Right.
And
Right.
podcasts that are out there helping the world or spreading your message or growing your students, like all of that is there's a different I call it a different model for
Mm-hmm.
every type of business or every type of purpose that you would like, and we can
Mm-hmm.
find a good match for that. And that's what I've loved most about working with you, is that we've gotten to do that one-on-one.
Yeah, and one of the things I was a little concerned about when I first started, I'm like, there's only so many things I can talk about Blair, because it ends up being the same information. But what's so remarkable, just like every single time I have an encounter with my patient, maybe I'm applying that same science, and for them the same way. Like if they go out of an alignment, I do the same adjustment for them. But every single time I have an encounter with them, they've experienced an entire different set of life circumstances. So we can communicate with that. When I've developed the vision for my podcast and when I do the interviews, I realize that yes, a lot of my life is about Blair Chiropractic, but I'm also a multifaceted person who cares so much about social justice, and I care so much about people being free in their heart and knowing who they are. And so I can branch out and meet people on different levels and do different interviews, and it all ties together because it's all connected. We're all well connected.
That's right. And so, yeah, Well Connected Cairo is actually the location of the podcast. So that's the website.
Right.
And we'll have that in the show notes and everything, so people will be able to find it. But I just, this is really what I think is really brilliant. First, about the name. So Is Your Head On Straight? It allows you to talk about mental clarity. It talks about social justice. You can talk about these other things because you didn't make it about chiropractic. I mean,
Right.
it has a chiropractic reference. So it has a business reference and a purpose, but that's not all the show is about. You've given yourself enough roadway, enough bandwidth to be
Yeah.
able to to morph and be you and talk
Mm-hmm.
about the things that you're passionate about and talk to people who you're interested in, because if
Yeah.
you stay engaged and interested, then your audience will too. That's what I found along the way.
Yeah, and it's been really fun getting to talk to all kinds of different people from all kinds of different walks of life, and giving information about financial health and giving information about somatic experience and sound healing, and of course Blair Chiropractic. But I've even been interviewed by, other podcasters about my personal story and like what I've been walking through personally, and people hear it and I get comments like, wow, I can't believe what you're walking through. That really helped me. What you said like made me feel like I could keep going. And that's what it's all about. Like when we walk through these circumstances in our lives, if we can be a voice and share what we did to be able to get through, it inspires other people. And that's the whole point.
Yeah, I agree with you. And, we're talking today about balance for better. That's the theme that the International Women's Day organization chose. And I added life and harmony because I wanted to make sure that we had understanding that balance wasn't a solo thing. Like
Right.
it's a group, it's a group effort. And so I consider you the extended part of my team here, because when I'm not well, no one functions well. Right. Like,
Right.
and I'm at
There's
the
this
top of
thing,
that. Like,
if mama ain't well, ain't nobody well.
that's right, exactly. And so, so I really, I care about that. And so I have come to know my body over time and know the instant when I'm not sleeping well, or when I'm getting a headache, or things are recurring, or my hip is hurting. Like,
Yeah.
I'm out of alignment. I'm not well connected today. And I go reach out to my team and say, hey,
Yes.
I got to get in. And so, that's one
I
of the
love
things
it.
we need to keep doing for ourselves. That is the way we help ourselves, is by reaching out to those team members. And our health team is really a critically important part. And we skip it
Yeah.
so often. We put things off. And I come from a family of like, if the medicine doesn't taste like junk, then then
It's not
it's not good
working.
for it's not working, right? Or you don't need a doctor, like, you just need to grin and bear it, like that. I come
Yeah.
from a family of that. And so
Mhm.
and so it is, I'm always like, my mom will call me and I'll be like, yeah, I'm going to the chiropractor. Oh, what's wrong with you? I'm like, no, it's,
Nothing. I want to stay well.
I want to stay
I
well.
know.
It's important.
And that's the thing, like getting people to realize that chiropractic care, we assess the function of your nervous system. And if your nervous system is good, then you're going to be good. And so taking it from this place in people's mind of as a luxury and making it a necessity, because without your nervous system functioning well, nothing is well. And
Right.
I want people to thrive in every area of their life. So
Well,
that is part of my vision, is to educate about that.
Well, and this is the interesting thing that I've come to over time. Once I started in Blair Chiropractic, so I started up north with Dr. Forrest, who's famous in the
Yeah.
Blair
And
Chiropractic world.
he's like the grandfather to me because he trained me and he's like our patriarch. We
That's
love
right.
him so much.
That's what I found. And so that's how I was like, I found all the doctors who studied under him, and I've been going to their practices over,
Yes.
wherever they are, in whatever state, whenever I need help, because he's so good at it. And so, but I was so grateful to find it, because that first time that happened, that I wasn't fully adjusted and came through, was the mental clarity that I had, and the emotional clarity, which I don't think people realize how much, like, I think I was on like permanent, PMS. Like, that's how it
Oh,
felt, like you were permanently grumpy because you were actually always in pain. It's just that I didn't recognize it as pain. Like, it was just,
yeah.
I had a like a lifetime, I thought I was having a lifetime migraine. Like, that's how it was all the time. I could count the days I didn't have headaches. And it was a car accident that brought me in there for the first time. And
Right.
so I'm grateful for that car accident. Like, isn't that
I
funny?
I often say car accidents are blessings in disguise, because they finally, when you have a car accident, you like know you have to see a chiropractor.
You have to
And
do
if you
something. Yeah.
and if you find a Blair chiropractor, like the car accident is the blessing that got you in, and then everything else gets better. And then you realize, like, I've been suffering needlessly for years, and it wasn't, I just didn't know.
That's exactly it. It was like all of a sudden a cloud like lifted, and I was like, this is what well feels like. Oh my gosh.
Amen. Come
I know.
on.
Amen. Exactly. Exactly. And so, that's where I think it's really interesting that you've chosen that name as your head on straight, because, that's really how it feels. Like, all of a
Yeah.
sudden I can think clearly. I can feel clearly, like all of that is
Mhm.
going and working together. So,
Yeah, there's a principle in chiropractic called ADIO, above, down, inside out. And that's where that is your head on straight kind of thing comes from. Because if your head isn't sitting over your neck the way that it was supposed to, then your brain and your body can't communicate. And if your brain and your body can't communicate, you don't feel well. And you don't even realize this because you don't know what you don't know.
Yep.
And then once you do get your head on straight, I joke and I'm like, literally, I'm going to get your head on straight today. People laugh, but then when they experience it, they're like, I didn't realize how unwell I was until I wasn't.
Yeah. So I know this, this is kind of a funny thing, but so I was recently filling out my own form because I'm now writing a column for Authority magazine to feature new podcasters. So please, if anyone's out there and you're a podcaster and you'd like to be featured, you just simply need to reach out to me and I'll make sure you get the link. But as I was doing it, we added this last question when I was consulting with the editors of the magazine, and they wanted me to put out, like, if you could interview anyone on your show, you know, what celebrity, it has to be living, okay, not dead.
Okay.
It has to be living. Like, who would you interview? And I kept thinking in the back of my mind, I was like, Dr. Hoefer wants to interview Lady Gaga. And
you
because
just read my mind.
Because that's how well I know you, right? And I was like, so tell everybody why, though.
Why? Oh my gosh. I got to go see her in Vegas last August, and I've always appreciated her music, and I've loved that she's so authentic in her delivery. And whether you love her or you hate her, she's her, right? She is who she is. And I've respected that about her. So my husband and I got this opportunity to drive to Vegas and see her. And it came literally, our leaving for Vegas was already set months in advance. It came on this really awful news that my husband was getting laid off from his job. So it was like, this horrible family crisis, and we're going to go celebrate in Vegas. Okay. So we went, and I said, this weekend, we're just going to have fun. And when I saw her in concert, she was mesmerizing and she inspired me. And then about probably 2.5 months later, her documentary 5'2" came out, and I could see the pain and the trauma and the struggle. And I appreciated her even more because I saw what a phenomenal entertainer she was. And she does that in spite of the chronic illness that she lives with, which is, fibromyalgia and all of these undiagnosed issues. And I see all these practitioners working on her. And I literally said, I was bawling, and I said, I have to be her chiropractor. I need to get her head on straight. And I know that she's got a house up in Santa Monica. I know people that know her. Somebody's got to connect me to Lady Gaga, because
somebody's going to hear this. That's why I wanted to put that out there.
Thank you so much. And when you said that, I was like, I have to interview her because I respect her for who she is. I respect her for what she does. And I respect her for putting herself out there, even in her struggle. And she's real and authentic. And she's sharing her message with the world in such a vulnerable way. That is something that I want to be a part of, and I want to help her be able to do more. And I know for a fact that once I get her neck adjusted with the Blair-specific correction, it's going to be game over for the rest of the world.
Then she really will be unstoppable.
She
right?
will be unstoppable.
Well, you know what? I want you to recognize in what you said, though, that's you too. You've struggled through so much. And if you, we don't have time to go into that, but that's why all of you out there, you have to listen to her podcast. You have to listen to the interviews that she's done, because this is a phenomenal woman who has struggled with so much in her life. And she has come through into this beautiful world of love that she is surrounding herself with amazing kids and a husband and a community and a practice, and it's all full of love and healing, and you know what, that's a lot of power you're bringing into the world too. And I am I'm honored to be a part of your support group. So.
You know what, I'm honored that you receive the care that I give so well, and it's a blessing. And you and your family have been a huge inspiration for me. Obviously, one of the reasons why I'm doing my podcast is because you saw it in me and you pushed me to it, and I trusted you, and I challenged myself, and now I'm being successful at it. And it's like anything, you're not really great in the beginning, but as you go on, you feel more confident, and pretty soon you just have these spectacular divine appointments and encounters with people, and you can't imagine it any other way.
That's right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Dr. Liz Hoefer, on International Women's Day. Yay! Celebrate the women in our life. And so thank you so much for that.
It is my pleasure, and thanks for having me.